Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my lecture on the subject Tildiq qarama-qatnas madaniyati bo'yicha practicum. You can find much more information about our subject from the syllabus that is given on the TNG base of our university. Or you can click on the given internet address and go to the internet source of our subject. Okay. Today our theme is non-verbal communication. It means body language communication. So let me introduce you with the plan of the lesson. I will give you a general information about non-verbal communication in the introduction portion. And you will have a knowledge about physical expressions and other subcategories of non-verbal communication. And you will learn about 5 ways of our body language speaks loud than our verbal communication. Okay, let's get down to the introduction part of our lecture. The study and the theory of body language has become popular in recent years because psychologists have been able to understand what we say through our bodily gestures and facial expressions so as to translate our body language, revealing its underlying feelings and attitudes. Body language is also referred to as non-verbal communications and less commonly non-vocal communications. The term non-verbal communication tends to be used in a wider sense, and all these terms are somewhat vague. The terms non-verbal communication and body language are broadly interchangeable. This guide also takes the view that body language, non-verbal communications, is the study of how people communicate face to face aside from the spoken words themselves. And in this respect, the treatment of the subject here is broader than typical body language guides limited merely to body positions and gestures. Body language is a type of nonverbal communication in which physical behavior as opposed to words are used to express or convey information. Such behavior includes facial expressions. So these are the facial expressions, and such behavior also includes body posture. Here is a body posture. Also, nonverbal communication includes gestures, eye movements, and touch and space. As you can see from this presentation, body language exists in both animals and humans, but we focus on interpretations of human body language, which is known as kinesics. So to the question what is kinesics, we can say that it is the study and interpretation of non-verbal communication related to the movement of any part of the body or the body as a whole. In layman's terms, it is the study of body language. However, Ray Birdwhistell, who is considered the founder of this area of study, never used the term body language and did not consider it appropriate. He argued that what can be conveyed with the body does not meet the linguist's definition of language. Birdwhistell pointed out that human gestures differ from those of other animals in that they are polysemic, that they can be interpreted to have many different meanings depending on the communicative context in which they are produced. And he resisted the idea that body language could be deciphered in some absolute fashion. He also indicated that every body movement must be interpreted broadly and in conjunction with every other element in communication. Body language must not be confused with sign language, as sign languages are full languages like spoken languages and have their own complex grammar systems, as well as being able to exhibit the fundamental properties that exist in all languages. Body language must not be confused with a sign language. Body language, on the other hand, does not have a grammar and must be interpreted broadly instead of having an absolute meaning corresponding with a certain movement. So it's not a language like sign language and is simply termed as a language due to the popular culture. In a community, there are agreed upon interpretations of particular behavior. Interpretations may vary from country to country or culture to culture. On this note, there is controversy on whether body language is universal. Body language is a subset of non-verbal communication, complements verbal communication in social interaction. In fact, some researchers conclude that non-verbal communication accounts for the majority of information transmitted during interpersonal interactions. It helps to establish the relationship between two people and regulates interaction but can be ambiguous. Parts of the body language. You can send signals with individual parts of the body as well as in concrete. Here's details of the contributions of each part of the body. For example, head, face, cheek, chin, mouth, lips, teeth, tongue, nose, eyes, eyebrow, forehead. Even your hair movements also can be counted as a body language. When we talk about body language of arm, your elbow, your hand, your fingers can take a part in this. Core patterns of body language. A number of core patterns in body language can be identified that include clusters of movements: crossing, expanding, moving away, moving forward, opening, preening, repeating, shaping, striking, and touching. Okay, now let's get down to the physical expressions part of our lecture. In this part, we will study, first of all, facial expressions. So facial expression integral when expressing emotions through the body. Combinations of eyes, eyebrow, lips, nose, and cheek movements help form different moods of an individual. Example: happy, sad, depressed, angry, and etc. A few studies show that facial expression and bodily expression are congruent when interpreting emotions. Behavioral experiments have also shown that recognition of facial expression is influenced by perceived bodily expression. This means that the brain processes the other's facial and bodily expressions simultaneously. Subjects in these studies showed accuracy in judging emotions based on facial expression. This is because the face and the body are normally seen together in their natural proportions, and the emotional signals from the face and body are well integrated. For example, a lack of crinkles around the eye suggests a potentially fake smile. At one point, researchers believed that making a genuine smile was nearly impossible to do on command. When you are smiling joyfully, they crinkle. When you are faking it, they don't. If someone is trying to look happy but really isn't, you won't see the wrinkles. More recently, a study from Northern University researchers found that people could do a pretty good job of faking a smile, even when they weren't feeling especially happy. The next one is body postures. Emotions can also be detected through body postures. Research has shown that body postures are more accurately recognized when an emotion is compared with a different or neutral emotion. For example, a person feeling angry would portray dominance over the other, and their posture would display approach tendencies. Comparing this to a person feeling fearful, they would feel weak, submissive, and their posture would display avoidance tendencies, the opposite of an angry person. Sitting or standing postures also indicates one's emotions. A person sitting till the back of their chair leans forward with their head nodding along with the discussion implies that they are open, relaxed, and generally ready to listen. On the other hand, a person who has their legs and arms crossed with the foot kicking slightly implies that they are feeling impatient and emotionally detached from the discussion. In a standing discussion, a person stands with arms akimbo with feet pointed towards the speaker could suggest that they are attentive and is interested in the conversation. However, a small difference in this posture could mean a lot. Standing with arms akimbo is considered rude in Bali. The next theme that we are going to discuss is gestures. Gestures are movements made with body parts. Example, hands, arms, fingers, head, legs, and they may be voluntary or involuntary. Arm gestures can be interpreted in several ways. In a discussion, when one stands, sits, or even walks with folded arms, this is normally not a welcoming gesture. It could mean that they have a closed mind and are most likely unwilling to listen to the speaker's viewpoint. Another type of an arm gesture also includes an arm crossed over the other, demonstrating insecurity and a lack of confidence. According to Barbara Pease and Alan Pease, authors of Definitive Book of Body Language, everybody does shoulder shrug. The shrug is a good example of a universal gesture that is used to show that a person doesn't understand what you are saying. It is a multiple gesture that has three main parts. So here's a sample of a shoulder shrug. Exposed palms to show nothing is being concealed in the hands. Hunched shoulders to protect the throat from attack. And raised brow, which is a universal submissive greeting. So these are the three main parts of a shoulder shrug gesture. Hand gestures often signify the state of well-being of the person making them. Relaxed hands indicate confidence and self-assurance, while clenched hands may be interpreted as signs of stress or anger. If a person is wringing their hands, this demonstrates nervousness and anxiety. Finger gestures are also commonly used to exemplify one's speech as well as denote the state of well-being of the person making them. In certain cultures, pointing using one's index finger is deemed acceptable. However, pointing at a person may be viewed as aggressive in other cultures. For example, people who live or share Hindu beliefs consider finger pointing offensive. Instead, they point with their thumbs. Likewise, the thumbs up gesture could show okay or good in countries like the United States, France, and Germany, but this same gesture is insulting in other countries like Iran, Bangladesh, and Thailand, where it is equivalent of showing the middle finger in the United States. In most cultures, the head nod is used to signify yes or agreement. It is a stunted form of bowing. The person symbolically goes to bow but stops short, resulting in a nod. Bowing is a submissive gesture, so the head nod shows we are going along with the other person's point of view. Research conducted with people who were born deaf, dumb, and blind shows that they also use this gesture to signify yes. So it appears to be an inborn gesture of submission. The next theme that we are going to discuss is handshakes. Handshakes are regular greeting rituals and commonly done on meeting, greeting, offering congratulations, or after the completion of an agreement. They usually indicate the level of confidence and emotion level in people. Studies have also categorized several handshake styles. Example, the finger squeeze, the bone crusher, shaking hands too strongly, the limp fish, shaking hands too weakly, etc. Handshakes are popular in the United States and are appropriate for use between men and women. However, in Muslim cultures, men may not shake hands or touch women in any way and vice versa. Likewise, in Hindu cultures, Hindu men may never shake hands with women. Instead, they greet women by placing their hands as if they are praying. A firm, friendly handshake has long been recommended in the business world as a way to make a good first impression, and the greeting is sought to date and ancient times as a way of showing a stranger you had no weapons. So we have come to the breathing part of physical expressions. So body language related to breathing and patterns of breathing can be indicative of a person's mood and state of mind. Due to this, the relationship between body language and breathing is often considered in contexts such as business meetings and presentations. Generally, deeper breathing, which utilizes the diaphragm and abdomen. More is interpreted as a conveying relaxed and confident impression. By contrast, shallow, excessively rapid breathing is often interpreted as a conveying a more nervous or anxious impression. Some business advisors, such as those who promote neuro-linguistic programming, recommend mirroring a person's breathing pattern in order to convey an impression of mutual understanding. Okay, let's follow our plan of the lesson. So the third part of the lecture is other subcategories of nonverbal communication. Okay, in this part we will discuss about acoustics, haptics and proxemics. So acoustics is a subcategory of body language, the study of eye movement, eye behavior, gaze and eye-related nonverbal communication. As a social or behavioral science, acoustics is a form of nonverbal communication focusing on deriving meaning from eye behavior. It is also crucial to note that acoustics is culturally dependent. For example, in traditional Anglo-Saxon culture, avoiding eye contact usually portrays a lack of confidence, certainty, or trustfulness. However, in the Latino culture, direct or prolonged eye contact means that you are challenging the individual with whom you are speaking or that you have a romantic interest in the person. Also, in many Asian cultures, prolonged eye contact may be a sign of anger or aggression. The next subcategory of body language is haptics, derived from Greek word haptikos, meaning able to come into contact with. Is the study of touching and how it is used in communication. As such, handshakes, holding hands, backslapping, high fives, brushing up against someone or parts all have meaning. Based on the body language project, touching is the most developed sense at birth and formulates our initial views of the world. Touching can be used to soothe, for amusement during play, to flirt, to expressing power and maintaining bonds between people, such as with baby and mother. So, haptic has 5 categories. The first one, functional professional, which expresses task orientation. Touching stresses how special the message is that is being sent by the initiator. If a word of praise is accompanied by a touch on the shoulder, that's the gold star on the ribbon. The second category is social polite, which expresses ritual interaction. The third one is friendship warmth, which expresses idiosyncratic relationship. The fourth one is love intimacy, which expresses emotional attachment. And the last category of the haptics is public touch, which can serve as a tile sign that shows others that your partner is taken. When a couple is holding hands, putting their arms around each other, this is a tile sign, showing others that they are together. The use of tie signs are used more often by couples in the dating and courtship stages than between their married counterparts. Okay, the third one is proxemics, another notable area in the nonverbal world of body language is that of spatial relationships, which is also known as proxemics. Proxemics is the study of measurable distance between people as they interact with one another. To give you much more information about what is proxemics, I would like to demonstrate a video that gives you a concrete information with the illustration. Please enjoy the video.
Do you feel uncomfortable when someone stands too close to you? Do very bright colors in a room make you feel distracted? These questions are important to the study of proxemics. Basically, proxemics is the study of space and how we use it, how it makes us feel more or less comfortable, and how we arrange objects and ourselves in relation to space. The term was coined by the anthropologist Edward Hall. Hall was interested in understanding how humans use space in communication. In order to understand more about proxemics, we need to discuss different kinds of spaces. There are 4 kinds of distance that people generally use in communication. This can vary by place, and different cultures have different standards. These are known as realms of personal territory. Let's talk about these now. Public space is the space that characterizes how close we sit or stand to someone, like a public figure or public speaker. So if you are at an event listening to a professor give a lecture, you are probably about 12 to 25 feet away. Social space means we're getting a little closer, about 4 to 12 feet away. This is the kind of space you're probably in if you're talking to a colleague or a customer at work. Personal space is even closer. In this case, you're probably about 1 foot to 4 feet away from someone. This is reserved for talking to friends or family. Intimate space is for people who you are very close to. In this case, you're probably less than a foot away, and you might even be touching the other person. This is the space you're in with a romantic partner, for example. To note that this can vary culturally. These are the standards we generally find in the United States, but this might not be the case everywhere. For example, it might be considered rude to stand too close to someone in one place but not another. It might be very common to touch someone's arm or shoulder while talking in one place, but this could be considered rude in other places. In one country, you might greet someone with a kiss on the cheek, and in other places, this might be considered too intimate. Next, let's talk about physical territory. This is a little bit different than personal territory. It's more about the ways that we arrange objects in space. For example, you probably have your bed set up so that you face the center of your bedroom instead of the wall. Another example of physical territory might be the color of the walls in a room. Very bright colors have been shown to be distracting. So a person designing an office building probably would not choose to use bright orange or red paint on the walls, as it might be jarring to employees or students. Finally, proxemics also involves the study of geographic territory. This is a lot like what it sounds like. It refers to how we act depending on the kind of geographic space we're in. There are a few types of geographic territory. First, a person's primary territory refers to the space that is most comfortable, such as inside one's house. Secondary territory is also a space where you feel comfortable, but it's a little less private than your own home. This might be a friend's house or a coffee shop you like to frequent. Public territory is what we call a neutral space. This means it's not our own space, but it's something like a park or a city street. Depending on the space, we could feel comfortable or uncomfortable here. Of space and how we use it, and how it makes us feel more or less comfortable. How close you stand next to someone, for example, depends on the relationship you have with that person. If you're talking to a colleague at work, you'll probably stand a bit farther away than if you're talking to a close friend. There are the different kinds of space that determine how we interact with people.
Okay, now the next part of the lecture is to give you a knowledge about 5 ways our body language speaks loud and clear. Our bodies are constantly speaking for us, whether we want them to or not. People who know you well are probably best able to decipher your body language. But you show bodily cues all the time, even to the people you work with. Whether you are nervous about an impending deadline, annoyed at a co-worker who's not pulling his or her weight, or ecstatic about good news from home, you are sending out a steady stream of signals that reveal your internal state. With these clarifications, let's look at the 5 major functions of nonverbal communication and how they translate into what goes on in the workplace. The first one is displaying personal attitudes in your nonverbal behavior. Your body language reveals information about your personality, intentions, and attitudes according to another person. But you are somewhat damned if you do and if you don't exhibit this in your behavior. People who are impossible to read are perceived by co-workers as stiff or uninterested in their work, in other people, or both. So-called thin slices of a person's behavior can be a pretty good indicator of someone's actual social skills. The second function of nonverbal communication is to showing who is the boss. Nonverbal cues provide information about the social hierarchy in a given setting, particularly in a workplace where there is a vertical dimension of relationships. You show power through your stance, power posture, and through how much you talk, interrupt, make eye contact, use an assertive vocal tone, and seem serious in your facial expressions. At this point, I would like to show you the video in which you can observe how to show who is the boss in the co-work. Please enjoy the video.
By the way, which one am I talking to? Who's the boss? Well, I'm the oldest. Really? Are you laughing at my brother? Right, he's the oldest, you're the thickest. I'm told the boss is called Tommy, and I'm guessing that's you. Because you're looking me up and down like I'm a fucking tart. I want to know what you want.
Unfortunately, for women, some of these nonverbal cues can backfire. Compared to men, women who show their higher power by taking or talking more are negatively perceived by others, as are women who become visibly angry. The third function of nonverbal communication is to encourage people to follow your lead. So, you can contribute to a positive environment by getting others to follow your lead through your nonverbal cues. The charismatic leader points out uses strong delivery of message while showing enthusiasm, confidence, and capability. Good leaders seem to be likable and interested in others and may even imitate the nonverbal behaviors of others. Their body language conveys passion, and expressions on their faces are consistent with the words they are used to deliver the message. At this point, I would like you to show the video in which you can observe that encouraging functions of the nonverbal communication.
Oh no! I'm lost! Where's the light? Is this really? What do I do? Help! I'll be stuck here forever!
Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals! Now stay calm. We are going around the leaf.
Around the leaf? I don't think we can do that.
Oh, nonsense. This is nothing compared to the Twig of 93. That's it. That's it. Good. You're doing great. There you go. There you go. Watch my eyes. Don't look away. And here's the line again.
Thank you, Mr. Soil.
Good job.
Oh my, there's quite a gap, Mr. Soil. Shouldn't we tell the Queen?
I don't think we need to involve the Queen in this. She's got enough on her plate already. Training her.
The next function of nonverbal communication is promoting harmony. Getting along with co-workers in so-called horizontal relationships is another important function you can promote through nonverbal communication. You build trust by using your body cues to establish rapport. Draw others into your circle and mirror the nonverbal behaviors of others. For example, posing the same way they do while standing. One important feature of harmony is compassion. You can demonstrate that you care of others through gentle, non-threatening touch, while you express your concern for them in the words that you use. If a co-worker tells you a sad story about an ill parent or child, the message your body sends out should be consistent with the empathy that you feel for the person's situation. The fifth function of nonverbal communication is displaying emotion. The way that you express your emotions through nonverbal cues can, according to research, directly influence the way that other people experience theirs. For example, if you seem distressed after talking to your boss, you are communicating to others that there may be trouble on the horizon. However, more generally, expressing emotions can have a wide range of effects on everything from productivity to whether a customer provides a large tip to a waiter person. When you display your emotions, your communication will have more beneficial effects if what you show on your face and body is consistent with what you are actually feeling. If you try to disguise your emotions by putting on a false set of expressions, people will catch on, and the more you try to disguise those emotions, the more likely it is that your true emotions will leak out in small, almost indiscernible expressions. Sometimes it takes a lot of work to accomplish this, which is why people in service industries may suffer from the exhausting effects of emotional labor. Either way, being conscious of what you are feeling and how you are showing it contributes to a more positive atmosphere. As we have started to talk about emotions, as you know, it means feelings. So I wanted to show you another additional material about men's feelings. So, and I would like to demonstrate it because this is also I can count it as a part of the lesson because it's very important. So enjoy the video which is called Why Men Hide Their Feelings.
Why do men hide their feelings? Why does a man keep hiding his feelings, starting from an early age, in a relationship, and in everyday situations? One thing is for sure, a lot of people, or better said, a lot of men find feelings and emotions scary. Unlike women, a man's capacity for feelings and their emotional expressions are completely different, or they simply don't exist. Here are a few reasons you must know. 1. They don't understand what they really feel. One of the reasons why men hide their feelings is because they simply don't understand what they feel. After all, falling in love is complex, and for the majority of people, men, it's a confusing emotion. And when we don't understand something, it comes to us naturally to hide from that thing, or in this case, to hide our feelings. So, when a man starts feeling overwhelmed by not understanding what is really going on, it comes to him naturally to retreat to his man cave and hide his feelings. Sadly, when this happens, many women think that they need to use force in order to get a man to open up to them. but the only thing men really need is encouragement and more time to accept their emotions and finally understand what they really feel. 2. Men need more time to get in touch with their emotions. Believe it or not, contrary to women, men definitely need more time to get in touch with their emotions. Let's suppose that a man and a woman have been on several dates by now and they're really crazy about each other and they would like to spend time together. But who do you think will be crazier in love? The man or the woman? Of course, it is always the woman, and this is not a coincidence. Women don't need that much time to realize what they really feel or what they really want because from an early age they've been encouraged to show their feelings, and that is why they don't have any difficulty understanding them. We could say that when a woman is 100% sure that this is it, a man is only halfway there because he needs more time to get in touch with all those feelings and emotions. 3. They are afraid that their feelings will be used against them. Every man is perfectly aware of the fact that the moment he shows his feelings, the game changes. A man knows that once he tells a woman how he really feels about her, she will have more power over him and his feelings might be used against him. Men are afraid of women using their feelings to make them jealous or constantly reminding them of their feelings and asking for reassurance, or they are afraid of new standards that will force them to always give their maximum. They want to be in love, but sometimes they are afraid that their decision to show how they feel will backfire on them. 4. Sometimes they wait for the woman to make the first move. If a man is afraid that his feelings will be used against him, that he will lose power and appear too vulnerable, or if he doesn't trust a woman yet, he will wait for her to make the first move. I know this sounds cowardly, but that's just how they're wired and we simply can't blame them for that. Sometimes, a man will wait forever, if needed, for a woman to show her feelings so that he feels safe to finally show his own too. So, this is basically not about hiding his feelings, but is more like postponing and waiting for the perfect moment to show them. If you find this
So, dear students, we have reached to the end of our lecture. We have already concluded and we have done our plan. We have learned about nonverbal communications, physical expressions, other subcategories, and 5 ways of our body's language speaks loud and clear. So, in fact, feelings, emotions are also our nonverbal communication, our body language that gives much more information about us, about how do you feel, about how we are acting, about what is happening in our inner world. So I would like to conclude my lecture and to thank you all for attending and for having a time with me. Hope you have enjoyed my lecture. So have a good day off. Bye bye, students.